This is a 76 Traynor YBA-2 BassMate amp, and on today's episode of Guitar Tone Tuesday, we're going to learn all about it. This amplifier is referred to as a BassMate. That's what Traynor called this model. But it's a very interesting circuit because it's actually based off the Fender Harvard amplifier. The Fender Harvard was an amplifier that was made in the late 50s through about 1960. It was one of Fender's, I guess I would say it's the end of the Tweed era, kind of going into the Brown era. So it's an amplifier with a little bit more mid-range than a lot of the circuits that came afterwards, like the blackface circuits tend to be more scooped out in the mid-range. So it cuts through really nicely, but because of its design and the 15-inch speaker that it has, unlike the Fender Harvard had a 10-inch speaker. This amplifier puts out a lot more volume, perceived volume, and a lot more of a full and rich sound. I think Traynor is severely underrated, and to demonstrate that, I'm going to pick up a Stratocaster and I'm going to show you guys the clean sounds available to this amp. In that intro clip, I must say that I had the thing almost wide open, just almost completely cranked up. And another caveat, this amplifier only has 3 controls. It has volume, treble, and bass. That's it. So if you guys hear some reverb going on or some tremolo going on, it's because I am running my Strymon Flint pedal into it. And I'm just doing that just to create a little bit of air. But yes, like I say, for this clip, we're going to pick up a Stratocaster. We're going to hear how beautiful this thing sounds on a relatively clean setting. now I'm going to pick up my Eastman T185MX, which is a thin line style guitar, 335-ish style guitar, made by Eastman, one of my favorite guitars. And I'm going to turn off the reverb, and we're going to hear the full range of the tone stack on the amplifier. I'm going to adjust the treble control and the bass control so you guys can hear how wide-ranging these controls truly are. So I'm sure you can hear how wide-ranging the scope is on these controls. I mean, like, though it's a very simple circuit, the range of that treble control is intense, and the range of the bass control is probably even more intense and aggressive. I mean, it's a wide sweeping control. So though it's a very, 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 some would say primitive circuit, I mean, it's not primitive, but, you know, though it's not complicated in any way, shape, or form, there's a lot you can get out of this thing, and it does work very well on bass, which we will get to a little bit later. Now, I want to give you guys just a kind of Cole's Notes version of the history of Traynor. Very simple, because I'm not qualified to give you any more than a simple history. But essentially, in 1963, Peter Traynor, who's the brains of the operation, started the Traynor Company in Pickering, Ontario, which for all intensive purposes is the Greater Toronto area, the GTA as we call it in Ontario. Those of you from elsewhere are like, what are you talking about? The Greater Toronto area, so from Toronto essentially. And his first thing was making more affordable versions of Fender and Marshall circuits. So he was taking the direct Fender or Marshall circuit and essentially cloning it at first. And he was successful with this. But then he started messing with the circuits, and that's where, you know, things like this BassMate come into play, where it's like, okay, well, like, let's take the Fender Harvard, but let's mess with it. Let's put this 15-inch speaker in. And I think that's super, super cool, you know? Like, let's change the circuit. Let's change the tube type. Like, I know that in the YB-2A circuit, there's also a YB-2B. There's quite a few. There's like a YB-2, and all of these have like different tube types, different wattages, and they're all essentially kind of different versions of a similar thing, you know, which is pretty cool. Anyways, okay, so enough of that. One thing I will say about Peter Traynor is that he was a great, great, great scholar. He wrote wonderful books on electronics. And if you're interested in getting into the amplifier building business, or even just for yourself to build a clone of an amplifier, check out Peter Traynor's literature. It's very, very easy to understand and very, very, very well written. Okay, so let's have some fun. Okay, let's crank this thing up. I'm going to plug in my Tele and my 335 style guitar, my Eastman, into this amp, and we're just going to crank the crap out of it, and let's just hear how that sounds. Man, I gotta say, this thing is 15 watts, but it's pretty loud for 15 watts. I could take this thing to a gig and it would sound really, really nice at a club. Oh, it's really cool. And it's cool because it doesn't really get fully clean. It's an EL84 based amp. I wanted to say that earlier. EL84 based amp. But, you know, EL84s tend to be a little on the dirtier side. And man, oh man, really, really fun to play through, especially cranked up. Okay, before we go, I just wanted to say that, you know, Peter Traynor actually coincidentally left Traynor in around 1976, right when this amp was made, due to, get this, back issues. An amplifier builder with back issues. That makes sense. Yes, so he left, and then the company kind of, they were around, but they kind of gradually fizzled out. And then in the year 2000, they were reintroduced. And now Traynor is offering a wide range of different amplifiers, both tube and transistors that are made to sound like tubes and all that good stuff that's available on the market these days. So I want you guys to let me know in the comment section down below what your opinion is of Traynor. Have you spent much time with a Traynor amp? For me as a Canadian, it warms my heart to make this video and to talk about Traynor because I really, really love what they do, and I think they're great. When I was in university, I remember they had these practice rooms underneath the cafeteria, and there was this freaky old little Traynor bass amp in that one of these practice rooms. It was like a long, skinny thing, pretty small, but man, when you cranked that thing up, it sounded like a Marshall Plexi. It was super cool, and I have no idea what it was. And I remember, one of my guitar playing friends discovered it at the same time as me, and we were like, what is up with this cool freaking amp? It's awesome. So anyways, yeah, that's a little bit of my personal history with Traynor. But I want to say thank you again to my friend Derek for lending me this amplifier. It's just been a pleasure to play, and I'm going to play you guys out with a couple clips on my bass guitar. I'm going to make a little loop and we're going to have some fun. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see everybody again on the next episode of Guitar Tone Tuesday.